She slammed her car door so hard the sound echoed down the street. "You're paying for that scratch," she barked. Before I could even get a word out, her teenage son stepped up beside her, arms folded, smug grin plastered on his face like he owned the block. I glanced at my pickup, barely a smear of dust on the bumper. Her luxury SUV, on the other hand, had a deep gouge stretching across the fender. Anyone with eyes could see who'd done the hitting. Still, she shouted again, "You hit my car, you fix it!" As if raising her voice could rewrite the truth. Drop your location in comment. Let's see how far this story reaches around the world. I kept my tone level. "Ma'am, your son reversed without checking." "Don't you dare blame him!" she snapped, cutting me off. Her boy rolled his eyes and muttered, "Just make him pay, Mom." Curtains twitched up and down the street, neighbors peeking from their windows, sensing drama. She loved it. I could tell by the way she squared her shoulders, adjusting her oversized sunglasses before projecting her voice for the audience. "People like you think you can waltz into this neighborhood and do whatever you want." The words stung, but not for the reason she thought. I'd moved in barely 3 weeks ago, bought the place outright after retiring. From 20 years in service, the last thing I wanted was trouble. But this woman practically hunted for it. Then came the curveball. She reached into her purse, pulled out a folded sheet of paper, and slapped it down on my hood. "This is a violation notice," she declared proudly. "Our homeowners association will fine you for damaging community property." I looked at the page. Cheap print, fake logo, no signature. Worse yet, it wasn't even the HOA that governed this street. I nearly laughed. Before I could, she leaned in close and hissed, "If you don't pay up today, I'll call the cops. My brother's an officer." For a moment, I just smiled. "Go ahead," I said calmly. "Call him," her son sneered. "You'll regret this, old man." He had no idea what kind of regret was waiting. I'd spent 2 decades training local law enforcement myself, so when the real officers arrived, they'd recognize me before anyone else. 10 minutes later, 2 patrol cars rolled up, lights spinning silently. The boy puffed his chest like he'd summoned backup. "That's my uncle," he bragged, pointing to the officers stepping out. His mother, let's call her Lydia, flashed me a triumphant smile that said, "You're finished." The officer approached with practiced authority. "What's happening here?" he asked. Before I could open my mouth, Lydia jumped in, her voice trembling with fake outrage. "Officer, this man rammed my son's car," Lydia began, voice quivering with righteous fury. "Then he got hostile when we asked for his insurance. He even threatened us." I said nothing, just watched her put on a performance worthy of a courtroom drama. Mason nodded beside her, clutching his arm like a stage extra. "He shoved me when I tried to take pictures," he added, wincing for effect. The officer turned toward me. "Sir, any truth to that?" Without a word, I unlocked my phone, tapped once, and held the screen out. The dashcam video rolled in perfect clarity. Mason reversing straight into my parked pickup while I stood a few feet away, motionless. No shouting. No movement. Just the cold, unfiltered truth. The officer's brow furrowed. He turned back to Lydia. "Ma'am, your son caused this." Her expression froze. "What?" No, you're mistaken." "He's lying!" Another officer walked over, glanced at my ID, then did a double take. His voice dropped to a near whisper. "Captain Hale?" I gave a small nod. "Retired now," I said evenly. "But I still handle your department's ethics seminars." "Don't I, Officer Mason?" The younger cop straightened instantly. "Yes, sir." Color drained from Lydia's face. Her lips trembled. I didn't know." I folded my arms and let the silence speak for me. "You mentioned your brother's an officer, right? Maybe give him a call. We'll go over that counterfeit HOA notice together." Mason muttered something under his breath, voice cracking halfway through. The first officer sighed, rubbing his temple. "Ma'am, filing a false report and distributing fake legal documents can land you in real trouble." Whatever bravado Lydia had left shattered like glass. She fumbled for her phone, hands shaking. I stepped back to my truck, opened the door, and said quietly, "Next time, teach your son to own up before the law teaches him instead." The officer gave me a respectful nod as I started the engine. In the rearview mirror, flashing lights painted the street in streaks of blue and red. Lydia was pacing in frantic circles, gesturing wildly as if words could rewrite reality. Mason stood silent now. pale and motionless, the same mouth that had barked at me earlier completely shut. By morning, I figured the storm had passed. I was wrong. When I opened my gate, a paper fluttered there in the wind, another violation notice. Same bogus HOA seal, same bold handwriting, same message, unauthorized vehicle parking. I let out a slow sigh. She hadn't learned a thing. But this time, I didn't dial the police, I called the city inspector's office instead. Within the hour, a white SUV rolled up, the municipal emblem gleaming on its door. Two officials stepped out, cameras in hand, snapping photos of the bogus notices Lydia had taped along my fence. When she stepped outside, still in her bathrobe, hair unbrushed, her face drained of color, one of the inspectors spoke first. "Ma'am, you're under investigation for posing as a housing authority and filing a false police report." Her voice cracked. It was all just a misunderstanding." The younger officer lifted one of the fake notices between gloved fingers. "Ma'am, this kind of misunderstanding carries up to 5 years behind bars." Mason moved forward quickly. "It was me, not her. I told her to do it." Lydia spun on him, eyes wide with disbelief. "You what?" But it was too late. The truth was finally out. Turned out, Mason had scraped her SUV days earlier and pinned it on me to hide his mistake. When the officers checked footage from a neighbor's doorbell camera, it captured everything, the original damage, the lies, the setup. The same officer from yesterday arrived a few minutes later. He looked at me, shaking his head with a faint smile. "Seems you were right again, Captain Hale." I chuckled under my breath. "Just doing what you trained me for." Mason was led aside for questioning, cheeks burning with humiliation. Lydia broke down, tears streaking her face as she tried to explain, but no one cared to listen anymore. As I turned to leave, her voice wavered behind me. "Please, I didn't know who you were." I stopped, looked back once, and said quietly, "That's the problem. You judged me like I was nobody. Respect shouldn't depend on who a person is. It should depend on how you treat them." The next day, an envelope arrived from the real HOA, a formal apology. Lydia and her son had been permanently barred from all neighborhood committees. That evening, when I parked my truck, a few neighbors waved from their porches. One of them grinned. "Glad someone finally stood up to her." I nodded, locking the gate as a cool breeze swept through the yard. "I didn't serve this country," I murmured, "just to be told I can't park on my own land." Justice served. Peace restored. The neighborhood finally, blessedly quiet. The end.